The pandemic and super contagious virus spreads. These two scary things combined, how great damage would it do to a city? Today, I will reheat with you a classic Korean disaster film, The Flu. The story begins with dozens of illegal immigrants from Southeast Asia. Occasionally we can hear a choking noise coming from the crowd. Then 9 days later, Jung Byung-ki and his younger brother, Jung Byung-woo, a container truck was discovered in the grass. When they opened it, they stood still. Illegal immigration is like a pile of rotten meat on top of each other. All have stopped breathing. Big hole, this time the hole is heavy. Byung-ki took out his phone to dial. Suddenly a hand grabbed him. They were frightened to death. A boy is still alive. Calm down. Byung-ki found out he dropped his phone in those corpses. Byung-woo had to bite his teeth, pinch his nose and go back to his phone. And the other boy still kept calling for help. The two of them didn't tell anyone to leave the container there and take the boy away. Continue driving towards Sungnam City. At a stopover in a small district. They feel bad luck for 8 generations has come. They just drove the car when they ran into the police. Byung-woo suddenly felt his whole body hot. That immigrant boy also took the opportunity to escape, running around on the highway. Then he climbed across the grass to reach the residential area. Byung-woo feels something's wrong with his body, so rushed to the pharmacy to buy oral medicine, but he kept coughing dry. Drops of water containing invisible virus shoot out. Innocent boys, schoolgirls, and the auntie sat nearby, droplets of virus still floating. Byung-woo suddenly becomes a spreader of dangerous diseases. Then just like that, the speed of virus spread increasingly fast. Infected students bring the virus to classrooms. That child is contagious to you and the teachers. That guest is infecting the bus. But now, the one closest to death. Not to mention Kim In-hae, who is trapped. On the way home, her car was dropped into a shaft 40 meters deep. Life and death are just a split second. The man was ordered down there to rescue Pry, open the car door and reassure her. Don't worry, I'm Kang Ji-woo from Team 119. Unfortunately, he used slightly strong force, so he accidentally tore Kim's skirt, revealing white thighs. Kim has just panicked, cursing him. Are you here to save me, or have you come to undress me? Just finished shouting, the steel frame was broken. Kang hugged Kim with one hand, pulling her out of the death's tongue. The hero to save the beauty, Mr. Kang is dreaming again. He told his teammates, then you see, she will definitely call me asking for a date. Unfortunately, he was only half correct. Kim met him not because of that, but she asked him to return to that car to help her with the files. It turned out that she was the infectious doctor at Budong Hospital. All important documents of the faculty was left behind by her in the car. If she can't find it, she doesn't know how to face everyone in the future. Mr. Kong softened his heart and went down again to that supergiant hole. As soon as he got the bag, he heard the phone ring. He opened it. It was her daughter calling, the little girl Ri. He went to kindergarten to give her things. Mr. Kong looked at the girl, politely accepting the clothes, thought in my heart, it's over. There's no chance to eat white cabbage anymore. But he doesn't know. Actually, Kim is a single mother. Everyday life is not easy with her. Get a pile of documents you thought would lose. She was not happy more than 3 seconds, then receive urgent notice from the hospital. There is a problem. Hurry to the hospital. When she entered the emergency room lobby, she has seen the patient quarantined or struggling like a dying animal. This person, it was Byung-woo. She checked the items he was carrying. The clip that he filmed with his phone was also exposed. Kim went to Byung-ki immediately to ask questions. Say, where is that container? Including the source of that epidemic spread. Human trafficking is a serious crime. How dare Byung-ki confess? He rioted the whole hospital, also tearing the mask of the medical staff. Then he rushed to hug Byung-woo, cried, Byung-woo, Byung-woo, what's wrong Byung-woo? Byung-woo, you can't die. Byung-woo's sudden death made the hospital understand the severity of the situation. Diagnosis specialist. The victim has acquired a new virus, 100 times more dangerous than avian flu. Moreover, there is currently no cure. The number of infected patients admitted to the hospital immediately after that increased more and more. Kim had to cry in her heart. Alright, the epidemic is out of control. That's right, the plague is right on the street. It is spreading at breakneck speed. At the wedding place, the bride in that pristine white wedding dress also coughing in the bus. The driver can no longer grasp the steering wheel. The whole car swayed, swaying. The most frightening is, after the police found that container, not handled professionally but can just open. A bunch of rats crawled on wet corpses, so those rats carry the pathogens to spread everywhere. Received a warning from the hospital side, local government immediately for an emergency meeting. The head of the infectious disease department pointed out the nature of the epidemic. High transmission rate, high mortality. We must immediately freeze the entire city. Otherwise, the consequences will be difficult to control. Congressman who was late also spoke overbearing. What are you kidding? Do you know how big Sungnam is? That's ridiculous. The stupid congressman spoke indiscriminately. Kim is rushed to report. I watched the clip again and found out that one of the victims survived. The boy named Monsai now does not know where he went. So where did Monsai hide? Coincidentally, this boy ran into her daughter. Mireu took bread for the boy to eat. Even though the two children disagree, but Mireu still kindly advised, you stay here, don't go anywhere, let me go buy some tangerines for you, then I will find someone to help you. But when Kang Hung came running, the kid was no longer there. Mi Ru's face suddenly changed color. She had a fever by touching her forehead. At the same time, on the road there was a fierce sound to attract people on the go. Therefore, it caused traffic jams throughout the city. The epidemic broke out. The Prime Minister came to direct the work. The Dean gives an opinion. Must notify the disease situation to schedule the spread. After that, focus on doing well in protection work. But the Prime Minister's face fell. He disagreed. Either way, it was not announced. To avoid confusing people. At this point, the President has just arrived at the scene. He disagreed with the Prime Minister. He immediately declared, blockade Sungnam. Stop the spread of the epidemic. On this side, the Dean is giving a speech on television. This new virus buried thousands of lives. We call it the flu. The police quickly surrounded the fence, preventing a new outbreak. Blockade of 40 kilometers for the whole Sungnam city. At this time, after contacting Mr. Kong, Kim rushed to the shopping mall. Only when she found baby Mireu, she was almost lost. After receiving news of city blockade, people racing to buy and reserve food. Despite fighting with the police, the center side was ordered, lowering the main door. It almost killed dozens of people. Fortunately, Kong helped out. The second time she saved Kim. But the delay this time made the whole city riot. The military side is now present. One after the other, transporting people to the intensive care camp. The whole car was packed with people. Kim hugged Mireu worriedly. She did not forget to report to the Dean. That boy is still alive. Proved that the boy's body produced antibodies. That boy is the remaining hope. After that, the American experts got involved. Giving all kinds of stupid opinions. Health check through molecular enzyme PCR. Be sure not to get a rash after 2 days, you can leave the nursing home. Politicians agreed, nodding furiously. Only the Dean objected. The manager is like stirring a pot of porridge. By doing this, the person who is not infected will also be infected. The Prime Minister hit the table. Those people should make sacrifices for the country. So everyone was squeezed together in a cramped tent. Ms. Kim lined up, temporarily put off work. But when she was tying her daughter's hair, then she suddenly startled. Miru's neck has tiny blisters, like a rash. She is infected. A motherly love from the bottom of her heart made Kim make a selfish decision. She pushed her daughter away, letting her daughter escape the check. Then remind her daughter, not to cough. If you cough, we won't be able to be together anymore. Mother and daughter are whispering to each other, where did Kong come from? He and his colleagues came here to help. Suddenly, a fierce argument broke out in the crowd. Someone disagreed with this chaotic test. He strongly protested. Doubt, a soldier wearing a gas mask immediately came to punch him. A man comes out, standing in front of the gun. What the hell are you? The other soldier said that he immediately regretted it. That person is their captain, Mr. Ma. Mr. Ma is also very selfish. He has arrangements. Get the paper out of here, the sooner the better. This devilish place compared to Busan is even more frightening. Co-workers whispered to Mr. Kong. Mr. Ma said that infected people will not get parole. Say wait to save anything. It's just the color covering the eyes. Kim can't believe her eyes. Mr. Kong also couldn't believe it. Life is important, the Korean government won't do the dirty things. You guessed wrong again. The Prime Minister feels that the epidemic is out of control. At least by doing that could keep the situation under control in the city. This argument was unexpectedly supported by so many people. In other localities of the city, everyone agreed with 2 hands. The epidemic in Sungnam, don't spread to our city. At a critical moment, the situation had changed. The military found Monsai in the crowd. Receiving the news, Kim was extremely happy. She handed Mireu to Mr. Kong. So, Kong becomes Miru's temporary father. He coaxed Mireu to sleep, and Kim joined the treatment group. She took Monsai's blood and was tested. Hoped to find the antibody virus. But the American experts stubbornly asked, have to do an osmosis test at least, before the virus reproduces again. But Kim can't wait for any more days. She went back to the nursing home, put the blanket on her. She wants to secretly inject antibodies to her daughter. Seeing woman holding a needle. The boy owed her to agree to let her take his blood. Kim was trembling with fear at this risky act. The treatment team broke the door, stopping Kim's action. And Mireu, considered a dangerous patient, was taken away. Mr. Kong saw Miru's mane fall on the floor, so he was a bit suspicious. The submarine station momentarily turned into a wet slum. The staff told Mr. Kong, if you want to find someone, go to the quarantine of the stadium out there. Taking advantage of when it was not yet burned, Kong, scared, ran to check. The stadium is empty. Only the crane is at work. The iron claw was cold like throwing trash. Hundreds of wet nylon bags were thrown down. This is no longer the human world. Is held. Desperate searching, Mr. Kong heard a familiar sound. Right, it was Miru's phone call. He pulled out the dying girl among the dead. Right now the whole care camp is going on a riot. Thousands of people broke the door of the isolation ward after they saw the stadium as a smoky crematorium. Then they can't take it anymore. They surrounded the medical team preparing to evacuate. They dragged Kim and the others out of the car. Byung-ki is distraught, wanting to avenge his brother that stabs Mansai. Sister Kim risked herself getting Mansai into the car. The car drove at full speed to escape those siege. Kim lowered her head to look. Mansai is dead. Antibodies are gone. At this time, the entire Sungnam city had turned into a battlefield. Hundreds of thousands of people want to escape from the iron cage, and the military is trying to stop. They have received the Prime Minister's order. Shoot anyone who wants to get out of there. Knowing the news, the president immediately protested, but the US side has silenced the president. Keep calm. Korea is in danger, we have already taken over, and Mr. Ma, an extremely intelligent person, has quietly observed. He knew he was infected. If we want to live, we only have to wait for Miru's body to produce antibodies. Taking advantage of when Kong left here, Mr. Ma took Miru into storage. Mr. Kong discovered Mr. Ma's plot, raised his gun and shouted, "Let her go." Rarely plays a villain, so Mr. Ma's fighting power was significantly reduced. Mr. Kong rushed to give Mr. Ma a fight. Mr. Ma was stabbed in the stomach by a hard object from the back, dead. At this time, the US has ordered maneuver airplanes to drop bombs, wipe Sungnam City out of the map. Kim received the damn news, hurry into the blockade. At that moment, bullets stray like rain, falling around her. Seeing mom get hit, Miru bravely stood in front of the gun. "Please, please don't kill my mother," the little girl begged fervently, stirring up the whole sky. Everyone was touched, forming a barrier, rushed to protect her weak little figure. Witnessing this scene, the president was also moved. He's been weak all his life, now rolling his eyes in command. "If bombers dare to enter our airspace, prepare defensive rockets for me." Faced with such a firm stance, the US side finally had to sign the compromise. May flying bombs flying across the sky. Luckily they left. As for Miru, the little girl carries with her antibodies to this plague, successfully saved tens of thousands of infected people in Sungnam. The flu has become a classic about an epidemic disaster, described many opposing sides, typically as the battle between science and disease, the selfish nature and honesty of man. Through the movie, we need to understand, medicine is a very important part of social progress. Life is not always peaceful and beautiful, but there will be people who take over the responsibility for you.